by this northeast corner of the 40, kind of overlooking a tag elder swamp edge that catches the deer crossing the pipeline from the pine tree forest over there. So let's go watch the ridge and see what comes crossing through. Sat this morning. I had a nice little basket buck come in while I was still on the ground. Got some video and some pictures of him. There's a few other decent bucks running around here this year. So sit tight. We're in for a season. It's Tuesday, October 19th. It's about 4:30 and it is warm, almost 70 degrees. I actually hiked into the stand in my t-shirt and I put my camouflage on when I got to the base of the tree. The neighbors are hauling a lot of shit, pump injecting, whatever you call that. They got a big line run through the 40, but that's okay because they're staying on a little further away field, and there's a lot of scrapes that I noticed walking in to the spot today. So we're just gonna sit here and enjoy the night. It's supposed to be cooling down a little bit after a front rolls through tomorrow, so I think this weekend will be really good. Unfortunately, I'm a working man, so I only have the evenings and some weekends to hunt. I'm gonna sit and watch the full moon come up. Hopefully a nice buck comes in too. Enough of me jacking and jawing. Let's stay tuned for a nice sit. We got deer coming in just over here.
after sundown, I packed up my gear and lowered my bow to the ground. I waited to take down the camera gear while deer continued to move in from behind me. Some commotion broke out behind me, causing the older doe to snort, wheeze, and bounce. This gave me a good opportunity to slip out undetected.
It has cooled down significantly since Tuesday when I was out here. It is Friday, October 22nd, and I think it's going to be a great weekend for bow hunting. Finally, they're starting to get some big deer coming in through this ridge. So I'm going to be quiet, maybe grunt a few times, and then see what decides to get curious.
I began to pack up after an uneventful sit when some movement on the edge caught my eye.
Morning. Watching a squirrel. It's October 23rd. And it's Frosty. That's a good thing.
I noticed a small 6-point closing in from the grass behind me. He responded to a series of grunts well. out for an older buck, I let him continue along his route toward a bedding area to the northwest of me. This was the last deer I would see that morning. I sat until noon and then slipped back to the truck for a sandwich and some cold refreshment. The pressure and the temperature dropped as the wind shifted northwest. Our first cold front of the season was moving in. So were the deer. I decided to press my luck and rattled my shed antlers lightly, hoping a nice buck was somewhere close by. Somehow, the leash on the left side untethered itself as I was mid-rattling session. As I took time and attention to reattach the line, I had no idea that small 6-point was moving out of bedding and straight toward me. This would be the start of the buck parade. I watched this small buck move in, and noticed him flagging, presumably to more deer approaching. I laid eyes on this buck, and realizing he was a predetermined shooter, I let the camera roll and I slowly reached for my Bowtech with my one free hand. As this 8-point approached, I noted his body language, and I realized that he also was flagging, but would even turn his head completely around as if to check behind him. I first laid eyes on him when he was about 75 yards away. It took this buck nearly 25 minutes to close that distance. With my bow already in hand, I just watched him move closer and reminded myself to breathe. Still seated, I drew the arrow back and tried to calm myself into a good shooting position. shot placement landing high and left, the buck's string drop was just enough to deflect my broadhead off the shoulder blade and up into the buck's spine. The follow-up shot was no better.
Well, this isn't good. I just dropped my last arrow down. I've got to go. I'm just going to give him some time to expire.
As soon as I was on the ground, I put one last arrow in him.
Nothing pains me more. That's why we practice. I just shouldn't have rushed it. I got nervous. I had 3 bucks that came in. 3 different sets of eyes looking around. And I didn't want to miss that opportunity. That was the biggest of the 3. That was the biggest deer of the 3. Oh my God. I gotta call this in. I'll get our hands on him in a minute. I feel so bad for not making a good shot on that deer right away. And the only other arrow that I had with the broadhead fell down to the ground. So I had to get down out of the tree with my bow, with this camera, put a arrow back in my bow, and go down and put that deer out of its misery, unfortunately. The thrashing is over. We got meat. That's a fine buck. Fine buck. He's a decent buck. There's his little drop time. Little sticker. The one I was after. Cool looking buck. Cool looking buck. Thank you, brother.
After 18 seasons of bow hunting, this drop tine 9-point would become my first successful self-filmed kill with a vertical bow. He will not be the last.
Thank goodness for a four-wheeler, huh?
It is Sunday, October 24th, the day after all the magic happened. I've come back to the scene of the crime where we got out that nice deer yesterday. And wouldn't you know it, upon these rotten logs that buck took his last breaths, I found honey mushrooms. What a great day. That week's cold front kept our garage below 38 degrees consistently all week. With the help of a window fan, I comfortably let this meat age for 7 days before processing. He was a well-fed and perfectly conditioned, pre-rut white-tailed deer. As I'd suspected, I found the broadhead above and behind the shoulder blade between 2 vertebrae. As I finished processing meat in the garage, I couldn't help but think, this is just the start of another hunting season.